Air Bud was a big deal at the time, which is pretty funny thinking about that. But you know what's weird about this film is that it was released in 1997, which is a year after Space Jam, and for some reason it reminds me so much of Space Jam. The idea of animals playing basketball, I mean, the Looney Tunes were animals and they played basketball, right? And the whole thing of like in Space Jam, the Monstars got powers in order to play basketball. And, you know, Airbud's a dog, he's a creature, and he's jumping up and he's able to shoot the ball and everything. I just think it's a really fun idea if it's done well, if it's done in a really like way where they don't you can tell they don't care that much about the directing and the acting and the presentation of the film and and the plot. I think you can make any Airbud's a classic example is you can take any like really extremely stupid idea and if you work really, really hard on it, you can actually make a classic out of it. Airbud might be one of those films that's like in between good and mediocre. I mean, you could say I'm looking at this through rose-tinted glasses, but I really think that Air Bud is actually it's a good movie. The legacy of Air Bud and Space Jam. How close are they? They're so similar, in my opinion. A lot of people don't talk about that, but there were films that came out before and after Space Jam that were inspired by what Space Jam was and what Space Jam became. Also, the clouds in the background. Like this cover makes me think of that Michael Jordan poster, the Space Jam Michael Jordan poster, and the clouds. And Michael Jordan was known as the Prince of the Air. And that's why in Space Jam they had the song, I Believe I Can Fly and Fly Like an Eagle. And Air Bud, what's he doing in this cover? He's flying. This cover is just like that poster, that Space Jam poster. And another Space Jam poster, too. It's like clouds in the 90s. It was really cool. And the 90s was just a really sunny, colorful time in our lives. It was a quiet, colorful time where we didn't have all these fancy phones and not everyone was on the internet. And it was just different. And it was just, I don't know. And again, like the clouds here remind me of the clouds on the cover for C Spot Run. See the clouds? Clouds, man. Windows 95, all the cloud stuff. The cloud imagery was a thing in the 90s, and it was really cool. It made you think of like heaven and stuff like that.